Hello and welcome back to your last episode of On Air with Dr. P for 2025. And it is one of those times of years where everyone's just reflecting. And I was watching something on social media where I was some grumpy old man. I think that was his handle. I'm not labeling or judging him. And he was saying, like, it's not Happy New Year's, just sort of the grammar of it. But Happy New Year to you all. I hope 2025 was what you wanted it to be. And if it wasn't, that's also okay. Because if it wasn't, now's an opportunity for you to reset, rewind, play. So that reset is just to say, come back to this moment. Don't wait for anything. You'll hear me say in 2026 when we're there about, and if you've listened to anything else or things that I've written, you know that I say that you don't have to wait to use the good China. You don't have to wait to make a New Year's resolution. Last year, I know we did have a couple episodes on that. They don't exist. And so I wanted to take some time just to reflect on 2025. Because, it was what it was. One of the things is you will often hear people, and I love that I'm just becoming my parents, and maybe you realize that too. It's that like Allstate commercial or whatever it is, where you're turning into your parent, where you're thinking, saying things that your parents would say, and you never thought that you would, and that's okay. And history does repeat itself. So when you're finding yourself kind of being like, well, this is the best president or the worst president, or wow, there's been so many sort of tragedies happening. Life is so terrible. And, it can be, and maybe yours is in this moment. And I think when we look back, it probably was, 30 years ago, something similar. And people have always kind of found themselves in situations. And that's really where I just love bringing this to you, bringing some of the guests that we have here on Air with Dr. Pete, and then just my training in psychology and Zen, being able to say like, hey, this is not that different. It might feel different, but it's not, and so one of the things that I like that we've been able to do here, and shout out to Lee Costelli, best producer ever, only producer of On Air with Dr. Pete, and only producer I've ever worked with on a podcast, but just for kind of putting together some topics that are pretty amazing, like this evolving mental health landscape. It is remarkable where this all started for where it is today. And by it, I mean just this whole idea of mental health. I, grew up in the 80s. I'm an elder millennial, and to think about some of the challenges that people around me had, and we didn't have a name for it. We just called them crazy, or we just sort of judged them, or whatever we did with that. So I like that we've been able to bring that to you in a very objective kind of way, in a way that says like, here's how this mental health landscape is evolving. But we're also going to say like, let's normalize this, burnout. Let's normalize how to create resilience, how to create meaning. What are your values? These are things that we're able to do. So one of the things that Lee and I are very, passionate about is just having to give some conversations around stress, trauma, recovery, but tools and tips, having people on that are experts around these topics, because a lot of times if I'm working with a team or an organization, I'll come in and I'll say, who's felt stressed in the last, 2 weeks? And 100% of the people will raise their hand. So this is something that we all experience, career stuff, students, parenting, how to kind of help kids with the academic pressures that we have today. We had some great guests around that, May being Mental Health Month. We brought some, experts in around there. And to think about, I remember I've had, done assessments like psychological evaluation. After one, when I met with the parents, I said, maybe just let the kid be a kid today. And that might not sound clinical and that might sound judgmental, but so what if you have like a 4.0 and amazing grades? Okay, that's important. I understand that. And if you do that with at such a cost that you don't, that it negatively impacts your health and well-being, then for what? And you can reflect on that as a parent, but also as a professional if you're listening. I do that a lot with some of the coaches I work with. These are really demanding jobs. And if you can not enjoy the fruit of your labor, what is the point of the labor? Finding meaning in that is really critical. What about just in 2025, we focused on the productivity culture and importance of rest and reflection. You'll hear that over and over again. And every high performer I work with is like, well, I just, someone else will be getting the edge. But what if rest and recovery is part of the edge? That's what I want us to think about, because oftentimes what we're learning is that that's the case. If we're able to build in some rest and recovery in the science of that, we're going to be able to more, optimize our performance. I will always bring you evidence-based practices. I am board certified in cognitive behavioral therapy. And so for me, evidence-based, empiricism, understanding the science of why people do what they do and what works for those things. Everything that you will hear from me integrates some aspect of mindfulness, some contemplative practice, and mind-body approaches. We had people talking about substance use. other sort of traumas like physical traumas, emotional trauma, losing children, losing body, an ability, thinking about disability. These were, things that are just really, really heavy. And hopefully what we're doing is finding some nuance in the compassion around this. We had such guests on about that really just embody all of this. They embody contemplative practices, whether they know it or not. They embody compassion, they embody resilience. And you might not be feeling resilient in this moment, and that's okay. Because one of the things I want to do is always bridge psychology, education, discourse, have topics that maybe other people don't want to talk about. Because, as a psychologist, that's what we got to do. You got to talk for the things other people don't want to talk about. But, we want to be sure that you're getting some kind of practical takeaway every time you tune in. As you know, our episodes are not going to be terribly long. I admire those that are able to and are interested in listening to somebody for a long period of time. I'm not, so I often say I teach the way I want to be taught. I coach the way I wanted to be coached. And so for me, I was always like, just give me the information. Let's go, and anyone on my team knows that let's be effective. Let's be efficient. Ultimately, 2025 for me was about kind of really just getting this out there more, but also like healing collectively. One of the things I've read about is like collective trauma. And, this is something that happens across in all different sort of things, right? Whether it's some sort of tragedy or, geographical or what. It doesn't, lots of different ways that we can collectively experience things. I'm really into this collective healing. Not in a way that has to feel uncomfortable or, but just in a way of like, hey, can On Air with Dr. Pete bring you a little bit of that, ways that we can collectively heal. It's nonlinear. So it's not like we're going to just all of a sudden like tune in and 3 weeks later we'll feel great. Because this is not therapy. We've got some links for people that are looking for that, but this is just about sort of, information, stories, motivation, ways that we can just, really kind of cultivate this skill. That's what we do in a lot of the cognitive behavioral therapy that I do. It's how skillful can I be? If I have an employee that I don't like, how skillful can I be with that employee? A manager I don't like, a family member that I don't like. Now, this may all sound really kind of triggering. You're like, wait, how do you not like somebody like that? Well, it's very possible. You don't have to like everybody. You just have to learn how to be skillful with people. And so, I think one of the jokes I've been saying in 2025 a lot is that I'm having a midlife crisis and that I'm a sociopath. But those are just two of my kind of inside jokes with my people. And so the midlife crisis is probably actually pretty accurate. I'm 45 in 2025, and that's, kind of smack in the middle. If I make it to 90, who knows, because what we do in mindfulness is we're just in the present moment. What I've done is just really focus on my health and well-being. And so that meant, working with a trainer, kind of getting my body, my back right, my shoulder, 20-year, sport injury. And it feels good, so I'm okay with my midlife crisis. I'm not judging it. It's just where it is. The sociopath piece is because about being skillful. So sometimes you're like, you have to act as if, so sometimes you're not, 100% accurate with yourself. And I always think of Jim Carrey's movie, Liar, Liar. You don't always have to just be, and you're not. That's why that movie was so funny and kind of touched people, because no one is 100% truthful. What I often say in the therapy room is you might get close to 100% in therapy, but no one even gets to 100% in therapy. So if you can't, with a professional who legally cannot say anything that you're saying in the room, be 100% truthful, then, that's just part of the human condition. So that's sort of why I've been joking, saying I'm a sociopath, in that, just that being skillful with people, and so again, there might be just people in your life that you just have to be a little bit more skillful with than others, meaning you have to just, take a couple more deep breaths, or diffuse from your thoughts a bit more, or just, accept that the person is what they are. And maybe they're not giving you exactly what they need, what you need. That might be an opportunity for you to then cut them out, but it also might be an opportunity just to be skillful, because there are some benefits. It might not be 100% benefit, but there are some benefits. So I am, wanting to close out 2025 with just emphasizing how important it is to stay present, stay connected, find a way that you can sustain your well-being. I don't like Band-Aids and quick fixes. They're okay temporarily, but they're not something that we want to do over and over again. So I am just so thankful for the 3 people that download every episode. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm so thankful for the people that are, tuning in. And I really hope in 2026 that you'll tune in, you'll share with some of your friends, your colleagues, because our idea is this collective healing. So for 2025, as I look back, my goal with Lee Castelli, the producer, is can we get some collective healing? Because, we are all suffering. That's that Zen nature, the first noble truth. That is one of our plans for 2026 is to bring you some more Zen into this. You may or may not know that I have been studying Zen for about 20 years almost. And so as a Zen teacher, just want to bring to you some Zen so that you can, maybe learn a little bit around that. I realize there's not a huge platform for that. And so we're going to integrate that in 2026. So, again, I really am just so thankful for anyone that tunes in, and hopefully you will follow, and share wherever you listen to your podcast. We are at Everything's at Official Dr. Pete. That's the handle on all of the, Instagrams and websites. So have a wonderful 2025 holiday season. Don't get too stressed. Let it all go. Don't fix family problems during that time, and just commit in this moment. Don't wait till 2026. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, a happy new year. And until I see you next year, spread a little kindness and stay well.